everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Have you ever used your Google or Facebook account to log into an app without typing in a password? Well, that's OAuth 2.0 working its magic. It's the invisible hero behind scenes, ensuring that your apps can access your data securely without exposing your passwords. In this session, we'll dive into how OAuth makes this possible, using real-world examples and live demos. By the end of this demo, you'll not only understand how OAuth keeps your data safe, but also learns how to implement it in your own apps. Let's talk about what we're covering in this video. Here is the agenda. Introduction to OAuth 2.0, what it is and why it's important. Common scenarios where OAuth is used, such as Google login, Facebook login, etc. Key OAuth concepts. Actors in OAuth, resource owner, client, authorization server, and resource server. Access token versus refresh token. What they are and how they work. Scopes, consent, and redirect URLs. Explaining permissions and how OAuth works in real-world applications. The OAuth flow, which gives step-by-step walkthrough of authorization code flow and implicit flow. How OAuth ensures security with token exchanges. Why token expiration and refresh tokens are key to keeping users secure. Then I shall give you a live demo where OAuth with Google API, setting up a Google Auth project, implementing Google Auth with Google API, and understanding each step of the flow. Building your first OAuth app and how to build OAuth login to your new web app. How to securely store and refresh tokens. Common pitfalls and pro tips. Misfigured redirected URLs, token expiry mistakes, and OAuth versus OpenID Connect. Best practices for handling OAuth errors and securing your app. Real-world applications of OAuth and how OAuth is used in mobile apps, single-page apps, and microservices. Industry examples where OAuth powers modern security. Then we move on to quiz and recap, where we review the key concepts with a short quiz to test your understanding. We shall also recap on the core OAuth concepts and practical takeaways. Now that you're learning about OAuth 2.0, are you ready to take your development skills to the next level? Introducing the AI-powered full-stack developer program from Simplilearn. This comprehensive 9-month program equips you with the skills to build modern, AI-powered web applications using the MERN stack, Java, and other cutting-edge tools. Throughout the program, you'll develop expertise in React, Node.js, MongoDB, and AI-powered tools like GitHub Copilot and Hugging Face. With 60+ hands-on projects and real-world applications, you'll have plenty of opportunities to master full-stack development with boosting your CV with practical skills. You'll also benefit from AI-powered job assistance, including AI-generated resumes, mock interviews, and custom job opportunities, helping you launch your career in tech. Plus, upon completion, you'll earn a certificate from Simplilearn showcasing your expertise to employers worldwide. This program is perfect for professionals eager to become proficient in AI-powered development, building dynamic web apps, and gain practical expertise through industry projects. Enroll now and take the first step towards becoming a job-ready full-stack developer. Hurry up and enroll now. The course link is mentioned in the description box below. Now that you have learned the fundamentals of OAuth 2.0, it's time to test your understanding with a few quick questions. What is the primary purpose of OAuth 2.0? Is it A, to authenticate users, B, to authorize third-party applications to access user data securely, C, to store user passwords securely, or is it D, to provide encryption for user data? Let us know your answers in the comment section below. Let's start with a simple analogy. Imagine you've got a Netflix account and you want to share it with a friend. You'd give them your username and your password, right? But here's the thing, that's risky. Now, instead of handing over your login details, OAuth allows you to give your friend access to Netflix without sharing your password. It's like giving them a temporary guest pass. They can watch your shows but don't have your account credentials. That's OAuth in action. Safe, secure, and temporary access. Here's why OAuth exists. OAuth came about because older methods like basic authentication were simply too risky. In the past, we gave our passwords to apps, trusting them not to misuse it. But as the internet grew and more apps emerged, we realized that it wasn't enough, and OAuth was created as a safer alternative. Instead of sharing your passwords, OAuth lets you decide access tokens which are much more secure and temporary. Everyday examples of OAuth. Alright, let's bring this to life. When you log in into a website using Google or Facebook account, you're already using OAuth. You don't have to give the site your Google or your Facebook password. Instead, you authenticate it through OAuth. This ensures that a site has access to specific information like your email or profile picture without ever having access to your login credentials. Here's who's involved in OAuth. You will now understand who's involved in all of this action. Understanding these roles will help you see how OAuth works behind the scenes. Starting off, we have resource owner, then we have client authorization server, followed by resource server. In the OAuth world, there are 4 main players. Resource owner, that's you, the person who owns the data. Then we have our client. Client is the app or service asking for access to your data. For example, a photo editing app asking to access your Google Photos. Then we have authorization server, the one that verifies whether the client should have access to your data. It's like a domain checking the guest list. Finally, we have the resource server, the server that holds the data. Think of it as your Google Photos where all of your pictures come to life. Access token versus refresh token. Now let's talk about the 2 important tokens, the access token and the refresh token. Here's how they work. Access token. Imagine that you're getting into a concert. You've got your tickets, which gives you the access to venue for hours. This is your access token. It's temporary and gives you access to the data. Then we have our refresh token. But here's the catch. When your ticket expires, you don't need to buy a new one. You can go backstage, show your refresh token and get a new ticket without re-entering your credentials. That's refresh token, a long-lasting key to help keep you logged in without needing to re-authenticate every time. Moving on to scopes, consent, and redirect URLs. Now that you've got a handle on tokens, let's talk about some of the key terms you'll encounter with OAuth. Some of them are scopes, consent, and redirect URLs. Scopes are like permissions. If an app asks you to read photos, you're the one giving it permission to access all of that. Then we have consent. You have to give the app permission to access your data. It's like agreeing to rules before you enter the concert. Finally, we have redirect URLs. After the app gets access to your data, it needs to send you back the right page. The redirect URL is like the exit sign directing you where to go once your ticket's validated. We shall now talk about OAuth roles and grant types. OAuth has different grant types, or ways that apps can request access. We won't have to dive deep into them for now, but think of it as choosing different paths to get to the concert. Each one is suited to a different situation, such as mobile apps, websites, or desktop apps. All use different OAuth flows. We will now move on to the OAuth flow. Now that you understand the components, let's take a deeper dive into how OAuth flow works. It's a bit like a backstage pass for your data, and I'm going to walk you through it step by step. For the first part, we have authorization code flow versus implicit flow. Let's get started with authorization code flow, the most common one. This is like going to a concert, getting your ticket, and then exchanging it for a wristband that lets you access everything. It's a bit longer but super secure. Then there's implicit flow. This one's faster. It skips the step of exchanging the code for a wristband, but it's a bit riskier, so it's used less often now. Then there's implicit flow. This one's faster. It skips the step of exchanging the code for a wristband, but it's a bit riskier, so it's used less often now. Let me show you a side-by-side comparison with visuals. Access token exchange process. Once we have the authorization code, the app exchanges it for an access token. Think of it as getting a wristband at a concert after showing your ticket. That wristband now lets you access your data. Moving on to refresh token rotation and expiry. But here's the thing, wristbands have an expiry date. So when your access token expires, you need a refresh token to get your new one. This ensures that you're always able to access your data without having to log in every single time. We shall now move on to security considerations. Now let's quickly talk about security. OAuth makes sure everything is encrypted and uses tokens instead of passwords. This makes it a lot safer. It's like having a VIP pass that can't be duplicated easily. Moving on to PKCE flow for public clients. PKCE, or Proof Key for Code Exchange, is an advanced feature for public clients like mobile apps. It's a way to prevent someone from stealing your authorization code during the process. Think of it like a password check at the airport, making sure you're not someone else trying to sneak in. OAuth in action. I shall now show you a demo on how to set up a Google OAuth project. Now I shall help you with setting up a Google OAuth project. Here's what you need. Google Developer Console, a browser which is Google Chrome or any other browser with developer tools enabled. So the steps are as follows. Here's what you have to do. You will have to open your browser, where I've opened it right now, and then I will have to I will have to look for Google Developer Console. Once you have looked that up, you will have to, so once this is open, you will have to sign in with your account. So as you can see here, I've already signed in with my account, right? So for the next step, what we will have to do is you will have to click on select a project, which is right over here. You select a project and then you click on new project on your right. Then you can rename your project as per your convenience. So I will name it as project 123. You can also add in your location if needed. I'm not going to do it for now. And then you create. As you can see, our project has been created over here. So for the next step in the Google Developer Console, you will have to move on to credentials. Click on credentials. Once you've navigated to credentials, what you will have to do is you will have to go on your top right and create credentials. You then click on OAuth Client ID. So here it says that Google Auth platform is not configured yet. So let's configure that. So you'll have to fill in some details here first. So you can select an app name. I am going to go with something like, let's say a to-do list just for the time being. You enter a support email, which I will pick. Then we move on to, let me just finish up with this. For my contact information, I will just use my email. We've reached the end of project configuration for now. We click on create. So here it says that OAuth configuration has been created. Okay, now that we're done with the process, what we will have to do is we will have to create an OAuth client. You click on this. Then for application type, you get like a drop down here where you will have to go for application type and click on web application. Okay, here we decide what the web client's name will be. So I will just give my own name. And here it's set as, by default, it has been set as web client 1. So let's create this. So as you can see, we have our OAuth client created. Here are the credentials for the client ID as well as the client secret. I'm going to keep this as it is for my information. So let me just copy paste the credentials onto my note app. So, I can use it for later. So anyways, the credentials are here. We can come back to it later. So moving on. So what you will have to do is in this page under authorized redirect URLs, you will have to copy paste a URL, which I am doing right now. And that will be HTTP localhost. So this has been done. Once that has been created, I will have to copy the client ID as well as the client secret, which is provided here at the bottom. We shall now move on to doing a code flow using the Google Auth Playground. Here's what you need. You need to open OAuth Playground tab. The steps are as follows. What you need to do is open the OAuth Playground app on your desktop. You will have to open OAuth 2.0 Playground on any browser of your choice. Then what you will have to click on is the OAuth 2.0 configuration button. So for that you have to go to settings. In settings, under settings, you have the OAuth 2.0 configuration. So what we have to do is we have to copy paste the credentials which we had obtained over here into the OAuth 2.0 configuration. So what we do is we go here and then we copy the client ID. Sorry, 1 second. We'll see. And so before that, I forgot to mention, you will have to check the use your own OAuth credentials checkbox before you copy paste your client ID over here, which I had copy pasted from the other tab. And from here, we also have to copy paste our OAuth client secret. So that's at the bottom. Here is the secret, which we will have to copy. It has been copied. Move on and paste it. So yeah, here we've copy pasted our OAuth client ID as well as our client secret from the credentials we obtained from the previous tab here. So yeah, we're done with this part. So here's what you're supposed to do. Under select and authorize APIs, you're supposed to choose a Google API that you want to test. It can be anything from Google Drive API or Gmail API. Then we click authorize APIs and sign in with your Google account. Once authorized, you'll receive an authorization code. Click exchange authorization code for tokens to receive your access token and refresh token. We shall now move on to understanding each step through console logs and network tab. So here's what you need. You will have to open Browser Developer Tools tab. So this is what you will have to do. So you will have to look up the Browser Developer Tools tab. Okay. Once this has been done, what you will have to do is you should go ahead and sign in. I shall use my own login credentials to do so. So once that has been done, you will have to move on to three dots. Oh, never mind. Sorry. Just click on Get Started. Yeah. So here you have an option of opening DevTools. So as you can see, you have different modes over here. Here's the device mode. You have the Elements panel over here. Another way that you can view this is by moving on to Discover DevTools. So here you can see all the tools that you can use. Here we have Elements panel. Here we have the Console panel, Sources panel, Network panel, Recorder panel, Performance panel, etc., etc. We will now speak about the project setup, where you can use Node.js plus Express, or you can use a combination of Python and Flask. So here's what you need. You can use Node.js and Express or Python Flask installed on your system. The steps are as follows. So here's what you're supposed to do. You will have to open command prompt. What you will have to do now is initialize a Node.js project. So this is how I'm going to initialize it. Yeah, so this has been done. For the second part, what I will have to do is install the required dependencies. So I will do so. So the libraries have been installed. So then we will have to go ahead and set up our Express server. So in place of that, what I will be doing is I will open VS Code on my system. Yeah, open VS Code here and create a new file and rename this. Yeah, rename this as index.js. Yes. You will have to type out this code in order to set up your Express server. So it's okay. Then we will go ahead and run this. Here's the code you have to paste into your Express server. So we have const express is equal to require. So this line of code over here lets us import the Express library, which is important, which is a popular framework for building web applications. Then for the second line, here we're creating an instance of the Express server application. In the third line, we are setting a variable port and we're initializing it to the value of 3000. We finally tell the app to listen on the specified port. So for Flask server in Python, here's what we are doing. We're creating an instance for the Flask application using Flask name. The app root decorator tells Flask to map the following function home to the root URL. Inside home function, we return the string hello auth, which will be displayed in the browser when we visit the root URL. Finally, we use app.run to start the server and make it listen on port 300. We shall now move on to adding GitHub OAuth login, and here's what you need. Open your GitHub Developer Console tab. So here you have to open your GitHub Developer Console. Okay. You will have to open this. Make sure you sign in. Create an account. Yeah, so here we have our page displayed here on OAuth apps. You'll have to open a new OAuth app. Then you can fill in the details over here for your application name. So let's just say something very basic like to-do list. You can enter your homepage URL here, which I will do here. HTTP. Your application description here is optional, so I'll go ahead and skip that. You'll have to enable device flow. You register your application here. And here we have it. We've created our to-do list. Yeah, so with this, we have integrated our GitHub OAuth into our app. Moving on to accessing user profile via GitHub API. So here's what you need. You need GitHub API for accessing profile data. So what you will have to do is use the access tokens obtained from GitHub to make a GET request to GitHub API. Then you will have to retrieve the user profile such as name, email, and avatar. Lastly, we will talk about how you will have to store and refresh tokens. So here's what you need a database or temporary storage like environment variables. So you need to store access tokens and refresh tokens securely. When the access tokens expire, use the refresh token to get a new one by making a request to the OAuth provider. We shall now speak about error handling for common OAuth issues such as invalid tokens, expired tokens, and permission issues. For this, you need to display user-friendly error messages. Also, be sure to handle these errors gracefully and display appropriate messages to the user. We shall now move on to some common pitfalls and pro tips. Misconfigured redirect URLs. One common mistake people make while implementing OAuth is misconfiguring the redirect URL. If redirect URL is not set up correctly, OAuth won't work and your app won't be able to complete the authentication process. It's like giving the wrong address to your delivery driver. They show up at the wrong house and they can't deliver your package. Did you know that if a redirect URL doesn't match exactly with what's in your OAuth configuration, the server will reject the request? This happens all the time in OAuth flows, especially in production environments where multiple domains or subdomains are always in use. Always double-check your redirect URLs and make sure that they match what's configured in your OAuth provider's dashboard. If you're working in development, use local URLs. But remember to switch to the correct production URL before it goes live. Let's move on to token expiry mistakes. Another common mistake is not managing token expiry properly. Access tokens are temporary, which means that they have a set lifespan, typically ranging from minutes to hours. If your token expires and you don't handle that expiry, the user won't be able to access their data. They'll be kicked out of the session. Imagine getting logged out of your concert halfway through. That's super frustrating, right? Did you know that tokens can expire quickly for security reasons? For example, Google's OAuth tokens usually expire in an hour, but refresh tokens can last much longer. This allows users to stay logged in without constantly re-entering their credentials. Here's a small pro tip. Always handle token expiry in your code. Use refresh tokens to seamlessly renew access tokens and avoid session disruptions. It's like giving an automatic backstage pass renewal. Moving on to OAuth and OpenID Connect. A common question that comes up is, what's the difference between OAuth and OpenID Connect? Let's break it down. OAuth is for authorization. It's about giving an app permissions to access certain data, like letting an app access your photos or email. However, OpenID Connect is for authentication. If you want to authenticate users, make sure that they know who they are, because OpenID Connect is the protocol you need. It's OAuth 2.0 with an extra layer of identity verification. Did you know that OpenID Connect is actually built on top of OAuth? That's right. OAuth gives you the app permissions to access data, and OpenID Connect adds the identity layer. So if you're building apps that require both identity verification and access control, you'll need both protocols. Here's a small pro tip. If you need user login, which is authentication, along with authorization, which is access to data, use OpenID Connect. It's like checking a person's ID at the door and giving them a concert wristband to access specific areas. Let's deep dive into why you never store secrets on the client. Here's a huge security lesson. Never store client secrets on client side like it's your app's front end. Why? Because that's like keeping your bank password under your doormat. Everyone can get into it. Client secrets should only be stored on the server side where they are protected. Did you know that some developers mistakenly store secrets in JavaScript files or in local storage, thinking it's harmless? But malicious actors can get access to that information if they know where to look. This is a huge security risk. Here's a small pro tip. Always use a backend server to securely store and handle OAuth secrets. Your frontend should never have access to any sensitive data like your client secret or refresh tokens. It's like having a secure vault for your keys. Moving on to some real-world examples. Mobile apps, single-page apps, and microservices use cases. OAuth is everywhere. It's used in mobile apps, where think of apps like Instagram or Facebook. They use OAuth to allow you to log in with your Google or Facebook account. OAuth is the secret sauce that makes this possible without sharing your password. Single-page apps. These are modern web applications like Gmail or Twitter. SPAs rely heavily on OAuth because they know they need to keep users logged in without refreshing the page. OAuth ensures that they can access your data securely without needing to repeatedly log in. Microservices. In the world of microservices, OAuth helps build secure communication between services. Imagine you're using multiple services for your app, like user authentication, payment processing, and notifications. OAuth allows these services to interact securely without sharing passwords. Also, did you know even your mobile game might be using OAuth to let you sign in via Google or Facebook without asking your password every time you open the game? It's a seamless experience thanks to OAuth. We will now move on to quiz. Alright, it's quiz time. Let's see how well you've been paying attention. I'll be asking you a few questions based on everything we've covered. So here's the question. What is OAuth used for? Is it A, authentication, B, authorization, C, both authentication and authorization, or D, none of the above? Lastly, I will cover some of the key takeaways. Here, we know that OAuth provides secure, temporary access to data without sharing passwords. It involves 4 key players: resource owner, client, authorization server, and resource server. Access tokens are temporary and expire, while refresh tokens extend access. Congratulations! You've just completed your OAuth 2.0 demo and learned the basics of OAuth, one of the most important security protocols that power modern authentication systems. You now understand how OAuth ensures the safe exchange of data without exposing your password. Thank you for joining this demo, and I wish you all the best on your journey to mastering OAuth 2.0. Keep learning, keep coding, and stay ahead of the curve.